Is Gavin Newsom cooking up a loaf of corruption? The Golden State recently passed legislation raising the minimum wage for fast food workers from $16 to $20 an hour, with one large, doughy exception. Chains that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item are exempt. Per Bloomberg, Governor Gavin Newsom was the one who pushed for that exemption, as it just so happens that one of the main beneficiaries of the carve-out is Greg Flynn, a longtime Newsom donor whose California holdings include 24 Panera Bread locations. Flynn has been involved in multiple businesses dealing with the Golden State governor, on top of contributing to Newsom's political campaigns, including $100,000 to fight a recall effort and nearly $65,000 to support the governor's re-election in 2022. Flynn denied to Bloomberg that he played a role in baking the bread exemption into the minimum wage law.
Panera's non-Newsom-connected competitors are bracing for a tough adjustment to the law. McDonald's Corporation franchisees have estimated the wage law will cost each California location an extra $250,000 a year and characterized it as a devastating financial blow, while Chipotle Mexican Grill said it's considering a price increase to offset the extra expense. California legislature argued it would fight back against, quote, abuse, low pay, few benefits, and minimal job security that workers face in these positions. Newsom has been particularly cagey, however, when it comes to justifying the exemption. The governor actually mixed his food metaphors, explaining the carve-out was, quote, part of the sausage making of the legislative process. So, I saw a lot of criticism of this on social media. Obviously, you and I disagree about minimum wage policies in general, but it seemed to me, and probably to everyone, that whatever the minimum wage is, if it's specifically for the restaurant industry, that it is just utterly crony capitalism, corruption to exempt one specific, a narrow kind of subcategory of this that mostly just applies to Panera, who happens to be a top donor to the governor, right? What are we missing here? This is naked corruption.
The only carve-outs I want to see are in the form of a bread bowl, Robby.
Yes.
Like if you're
Let's get going here. Let's get cooking.
Top Republicans in the state apparently want to do an investigation, and I think they absolutely should. The optics of this are not good, and I would like to hear more about the justification of excluding this tranche of fast food restaurants in the first place. Now, it's worth knowing that whenever there are minimum wage raises, there are businesses threaten to pass costs on to consumers in an effort to gin up consumer frustration and to oppose those minimum wage raises. There is a systemic effort to make Americans think of themselves as consumers exclusively as opposed to workers, which, of course, the overwhelming majority of Americans are. I think it's worth noting that the discourse around fast food workers often characterizes them as kids who don't need to earn any kind of wage. But and in fact, the average average exemplary fast food worker in the United States of America is a 26-year-old woman, and a quarter of all fast food workers are parents. So these are salaries that are being used to support households. And it is also worth knowing that California is unique in this regard, is better than many states in this regard, in having a minimum wage is well above the national average. But the national federal minimum wage, which is extant in most southern red states, hasn't been raised since 2009.
Yeah. I mean, again, you and I are so far on this issue. I don't know what we can mostly say about it. I think, businesses should have the right to offer a sum of money, and then people who want to work there can agree to work for that amount of money or not. They do end up passing the cost on. I mean, you can think it's fine to pass the cost onto consumers because it's important to pay the people more. They do frequently pass the cost on to consumers. That we had in D.C. I don't think it was structured as a minimum wage hike. It was like an adjustment to the tipped wage or something. The effect of it being that more guaranteed minimum pay for people who work in the restaurant industry in D.C. And the prices, I don't know how often you've been out to dinner lately, the prices have been jacked up at restaurants across the city to an extent that...
I haven't really noticed, but I am really happy that the people who serve me my food at restaurants have a living wage. One other kind of related story that happened in terms of the villainous actions of some of these companies and their choice to pass off costs to consumers despite seeing record high profits across various industries is the move. Did you see this? Wendy's said that we're going to start doing surge pricing, increasing the price of their food during high activity times, just like you would get in an Uber.
Yes, I think that's fine. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of behavior that many of us see as a dystopian glimpse into the extent to which companies will go to extract every living cent out of the consumer base.
I mean, prices vary depending on the time of the day, depending on how many people are going to be there, when they're trying to attract more customers, when there's too many, and so they want to discourage more people. That's the economics behind the surge pricing of Uber.
You're a fan, but there was pretty significant public backlash, and it sounds like Wendy's has walked back their choice to do that, I think wisely so. You can't put you can't put a price on goodwill, and they lost a lot with that particular announcement.
It seems like the market sorted it out. People were unhappy about it, and they changed their mind. I mean, I did see...
That's a good lesson, that if you're unhappy about something and you protest and you push back, you don't have to put up with some of the things that these corporations will try to stick you with.
People can complain about... I mean, Wendy's did push back on the idea... I looked at this a little bit. They claimed that it was misconstrued and that they were not actually intending to do this. So I think people got pretty upset on this. Again, it's not. I mean, the fast food restaurants charge in different parts of the country because the average income, how much your money is worth, is different. This is why part of the reason I would oppose a federal minimum wage, because how much your money buys in parts of the country is just vastly different. So it would be, I mean, the cost of food and housing and education varies wildly from state to state.
Right. Although I think most people can agree that $7.25 an hour, which was, again, the 2009 minimum wage and also the 2024 federal minimum wage,
right, but my point is that that's
well below the bottom tranche of what anybody can survive on in any state in the United States of America.
Right, but the economist's perspective is that if you you can't force a business to pay people more than it values their labor. So if you raise it past the point at which then they just won't offer or employ that person anymore, or the business just can't stay. I mean, again, restaurants are closed in DC and other cities all the time because they can't make the economics of it work because they don't have enough customers. When you have to raise prices high enough, then not enough people come, they stay home, they cook for themselves, and then the business goes under, and then there's no jobs for anyone.
Big Panera Bread, McDonald's, I'm glad that they have your sympathy. You're in their corner, arguing that they should not be squeezed, the little guy, into paying decent living wages for the millions of people they employ across the country. Let us know what you think about it all.
I'm not involving the government in this exchange. They have money. These people want to work. They make an arrangement about how that's going to go, and I don't involve the government in it. But that's my vision for how these things should be.
Let us know what you think. Stick around. More Rising after this.